So the very first woodworking project I ever made was a set of these photo ledges you see behind me. My wife came home with a magazine and was showing me these, and I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to pay that price for them. Plus, I figured I could make them cooler by adding the crown molding to the bottom. Since then, I've made several sets for different family members and friends, and we've actually got some friends that are wanting some right now. So let's go out in the garage and see if we can make some. As you can tell, I don't have a proper workbench yet. I'm actually using my sheet goods cutoff table as a work surface for now. I actually bought the wood you see in this project at the big box store. I just used regular cheap #2 pine. There's no reason to use any expensive hardwoods for something you're going to end up painting. This was my first time actually using the biscuit cutter to make this project with, and I found it to be pretty useful. I had to cut the 1x2s that I had down to more of a manageable length to match the 1x4s that I had bought. I like to use this backer piece whenever I'm cutting the biscuits, especially on the smaller front ledge, to help hold the piece and to make sure I don't cut a biscuit into one of my fingers. The dry fit here is sort of what helps make it nice, because you get ready to put these pieces together and it helps sort of hold them in place so that you can then clamp them together and drill your pilot holes. Just use 3 regular F-style clamps to hold it in place while I drill these. Now it's time for a little bit of glue, of course. It's always the fun part, except for whenever you realize that your bottle is almost empty and you're having to squeeze the crap out of it. I use the same 3 clamps that I used before to help hold it together, and drive some 2-inch drywall screws in to hold it in place. I wasn't planning on just using biscuits for the backside anyway, because it does actually have to hold a little bit of weight, unlike the front that you see here where I'm basically just gonna glue it with the biscuits, because all it really is just on there for decoration. It's not holding any weight or anything. So this is part of the benefit of using the biscuits versus using brad nails like I used before, where I had to go back and fill the brad nail holes and sand all that smooth. This time I won't have to do any of that. Found this to be a nice time to use John Heise's straw trick to clean the glue out of the crack there. Now I'm just doing a little bit of a preliminary sand on the bottom just to get the surfaces all even and squaring up the ends. This is why I don't bother cutting them all to length beforehand. It's easy enough just to put them together and go back after you get them assembled and square up the end. This is a part of the build that gets just a little more tricky, because it's sort of aggravating to hold the front piece of crown molding on there as you nail it, but it usually isn't too bad, especially if you have a nail gun kit versus the first time I put a set of these on and I had to actually hand nail them on there. This definitely beats that. When it comes to cutting the ends, I usually like to make a mark and cut it pretty close to where I think it's supposed to be, and then go back and sort of sneak up on the cut to get a good fit. I usually put a little bit of glue just on the miter on these, and you can see here it's a little bit of finagling to get these things to fit just right, but usually, again, once you get a couple of nails in it, it's pretty much in place. You just pretty much repeat the same process for the other side. I usually like to sand the parts before I put any sort of filler or anything on them to try to help bring the surfaces down even with each other. And it also helps to show you what cracks you need to fill. And this is just regular drywall compound that you can buy in any box store to use. It sands really easy and it does a good job filling nail holes and divots and things like that. And it's pretty easy just to hand sand this stuff off. It sands really easy. I always like to use primer on any sort of parts that I'm going to paint, and usually it does a good job of helping cover up knots and things like that, plus show you any imperfections that you may have missed as you sand in between the coats. I also took this time to paint a coat rack project that I've been working on for a couple of months now and haven't just now getting around to painting it. And I'm basically just using a regular high gloss white paint. I really like the look of it. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also check out my website at lanebrotherswoodshop.com and help support the show on my Patreon page. As always, guys, happy trails, and thanks for watching.